Good evening, everyone. We're going to give just a few minutes to let people join in from wherever they're joining from. Well, welcome and good evening, everyone. My name is Corey Pickwick, and I'm the events manager at IDOC. I'm excited to have you all attend tonight's eConnect webinar. Before I introduce our speaker for tonight, I do just want to take this opportunity to tell you that the Connection, IDOC's annual national conference, is returning to a live in-person format for 2022. It's scheduled for February 24th through the 26th in Orlando, Florida. We have a full agenda, and our speaker tonight is even on it. It's full of employee role-based tracks focused on the goals and challenges of independent optometry practices. And the conference theme, Inspiring Innovation, will provide new insight into the critical role of business innovation in private practice success. At the end of tonight's presentation, I'll provide the link to the event website where you can learn more and register, and we hope that you'll join us there. During tonight's webinar, if you have any questions, we recommend using the Q&A functionality, but you can also use the chat function at any time. And at this time, I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Jennifer Stewart, who'll be presenting this evening.
Thank you, Corey, and welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be here. I am excited to share my experience with the MyDay Multifocal. I have been very fortunate to be fitting this lens for a few months. I think I'm close to 30 patients now wearing the lens, myself included. So I have some great pearls to share with you, and it's just exciting now that the lens is out and everybody has the opportunity to use this lens. I want this to be an interactive session. I want to pretend that we are in Orlando right now. We're in person, that we're in the same room. We're so close. We're just a few months away from being in person. So I encourage you to use the Q&A. I will see it, and I will try and address any questions or comments as they come up. But also I might wait till the end if it's something I think that'll be answered later on. But I encourage you to ask questions, encourage you to make comments, and I welcome that engagement. And until we can be in person, that's the way we're going to have to make it. Just not me talking to you. So I'd love to hear your feedback as well. If anyone's fitting the lens currently and has some other pearls to share, I welcome that as well. But so without further ado, the MyDay Multifocal, welcome to the world. So hey, presbyopia, you've met your match. So let's see. So this is no surprise to us, and some of these statistics, when I sat down to think about it, I don't think any of us sit in our practices and count up the number of presbyopes we have or think about how many presbyopes there are in the world, but they are increasing. And there are more than 2 billion people struggling with presbyopia worldwide. And after the academy, I know there's been a lot of talk about presbyopia, and there's lots of talk about ways that we can manage this and how we can manage these patients in our practice, because they are not satisfied to kind of go with the status quo and just put on reading glasses like our previous generations or our parents might have. Patients are looking for ways to stay young and stay active and not look their age. So there are both practical and emotional impacts for this. And as somebody who is nearing 41, I will tell you I am right there. And it's hard to believe that I turned 40 last year, so I am right there with all of your patients. It can make people feel more difficult. It can make our lives feel more difficult, and it can make us feel that we wish that we could see as clear. I mean, how many of us today had patients come in and say, oh, how are you seeing today? I'm seeing okay, but I used to see better. My distance isn't quite as sharp as it used to be. My reading's not quite as sharp as it used to be. Nothing's quite as it used to be. And I think a lot of us feel that's just the way it has to be, and that we're not able to read as well as we wanted to in our contact lenses, and that's just how it is. And 90% of soft contact lens wearers wish their vision had not changed. And I bet a lot of you have had those patients in there today too, who just, I wish I had a magic wand to transport me back 20 years where I could see well without putting reading glasses on. And, almost 3/4 of these patients feel that they won't be able to enjoy the same lifestyle. And I will say, I've seen this over the last year and a half, and I'm sure some of my colleagues have too, especially with patients working from home who might be struggling with their vision with their contact lenses and say, you know what, I'm just going to wear glasses. It's just easier for me. I'm on the computer. I'm not really socializing as much. And now as patients are heading back to the office, they're kind of at a crossroads of, do I continue to wear my glasses? That's not really my in-person persona. It's not my getting dressed for work feel. But I've gotten used to that vision, and maybe the vision with my glasses is better than my distance only contacts. And I'm kind of stuck, doc. What do I do? I want to wear my contacts again, but I'm going back to the office. Can you help me? I want to have the same lifestyle I had. And then these patients are also feeling dry. 80% of presbyopes wearing soft lenses think that their eyes are getting more dry as they get older, and that they're noticing reduced comfort and increased dryness when wearing these contact lenses. And you couple that with working from home or being on a computer all day, and it's a serious issue. And these patients might not be sharing that with us. I think patients are often afraid to disappoint us and tell us that the lenses that we fit them in are not as comfortable. And I always call this the slow dropout, and I watch how often patients are reordering lenses. And you might have Mrs. Smith, who for years and years ordered an annual supply like clockwork. She was a great patient. Every year, Mrs. Smith on her annual exam would order a year's supply of contact lenses. But this year, Mrs. Smith says, you know what, Dr. Stewart, I haven't been wearing my lenses as much. I've been working from home. My eyes feel a little dry. I still have a good 4 boxes of contact lenses left from last year. And is Mrs. Smith a dropout? Not really, but is she one of these slow dropout patients that we really have to look carefully at, who are not wearing their lenses as much as they used to? Next year, when Mrs. Smith comes in, maybe she still has 1 box per eye. And now she's gone from buying an annual supply every year to she hasn't purchased lenses in 2 years. And then 2 years down the line, Dr. Stewart, I just don't feel like wearing the contacts. They felt dry, and I just don't think I'm a contact lens wearer. So these patients are noticing that their eyes don't feel quite as comfortable as they used to. I talk very carefully to my women patients, my pre-post menopausal patients, about the changes that do come from our bodies as we get older and how that can affect their contact lens wearing. And we might need to upgrade them into a better material. We might need to add some dry eye management, but to let them know that this does not mean that you can't wear contact lenses. I've got great solutions for you. And it also doesn't mean you have to put reading glasses on as well. So really addressing these issues head on and watching these patients and watching their behaviors, asking open-ended questions. Is there anything I can improve with your contact lenses? Do you feel that your lenses feel different at the end of the day from them when you put them on? And instead of just asking the dreaded, how are your contact lenses? And the patients go, they're fine. They're fine. I'm just not wearing them, but I don't want to tell you that. So they're fine. So really kind of looking at our presbyopic patients, not only on a vision side, but on a comfort side, and looking at the lenses they're wearing and thinking about, are there any potential upgrades we could make both on the vision side and the material side? So I hope that hope none of our presbyopic patients on this call right now are feeling sad, anger, and fear. But again, how many of our patients walk in and, Dr. Stewart, I think something is wrong, or they tell my technicians that they've had vision loss. And, we start brainstorming about, oh my gosh, are they having a retinal detachment? What's going on? And their vision loss is, I went to bed at 42 and I could read, and I woke up the next day and I can't read. And something's wrong. They're scared. And to us, this is our everyday, and we're so used to having the conversation about why presbyopia occurs and why these lens changes happen. But to our patients, this is frightening. It's scary. Getting older is not always fun. So there's some sadness and fear about what's happening to them. It might be tied into other parts of their life and just adding into this overall fear of getting older. But really, really taking that into account and thinking about these patients differently, that it's not just that they're complaining about their vision, but it's something that's affecting their life. And it might be more than just blurry vision. It could be affecting their quality of life. So really digging into how we can better their quality of life, how we can make them see better, feel better, look better to them, and just have a better perception of how they look. Many presbyopic patients want to wear contact lenses, or they think they want to, but they really don't know, or they're not even sure that that's an option for them. So a recent survey was done about adults who wore glasses and contact lens or contact lenses, and 40% of those, almost 40% of those patients were presbyopic. And in almost 80% of those patients, they were wearing glasses primarily. But if you asked all of those patients, no matter what the refractive error was, they would love to wear contact lenses. So there's a big disconnect about understanding what patients want and actually what they're wearing. So these patients would prefer to wear contact lenses if they could see well and they were comfortable, but most of them are still wearing glasses. So only 4% of these patients reported that their optometrist talked to them about multifocal contact lenses. So that's not even 1 out of 10 of these patients. It's a very small percent of these patients were counseled about their options by us. And I think that there are a number of reasons we don't do this. I am guilty of it as well. We're busy in our offices, we're running behind. Multifocals can take more time, and we'll talk about that. That's, I think, a myth, or kind of something that used to be the case, but now I think they're just as easy as fitting a spherical lens. But there are a lot of us out there who don't really want to take the extra chair time. We don't think patients are going to be successful. It's hard to set expectations. And we think that there's a lot of time that goes into it, and we might not make that back in our fees. These patients might require multiple visits. They're a drain on the staff time, but these patients want to wear these lenses, and we're not talking to them about it. So if there was a lens out there that could simplify this, make our time much less, streamline the process, make this more efficient, make the doctors happy, because now we have a lens that gives our patients good vision and clarity at all distances, and make patients happy because they have sharp vision and comfortable lenses. This would be a great option for them. So, in the absence of counseling, 63% were a little bit nervous about wearing multifocal contact lenses, because I don't think I've ever had a patient that walked in and understood what a multifocal was. A lot of them wear progressive, so they think they have to line it up so that the reading's in the bottom and the distance is in the top. Is it monovision? I have a friend who wears one lens only, or one for distance, one for near. I don't think it's going to work for me because I tried progressives years ago and they made me dizzy. All of these things are things I hear on a weekly basis from patients, and I'm sure you do too. So it can be very easy just to not to want to bring it up because we don't think patients are interested, or there's a lot of reasons we might not want to do it. But if we're not talking about it, they're interested. We just have to figure out how to overcome those boundaries. What do patients need? And I really think the first two are the most key for patients that are required for contact lenses, especially multifocals. They need good vision and they need comfortable lenses. You can't have great vision in a contact lens, but it's so dry that the patient can't stand to wear it. And you can't have the most comfortable lens on earth that feels like nothing in the eyes, but they can't see. If you have one of those two and not both, I don't think any patient is going to be successful. I think there's a lot that we're willing to overlook, but having one of those and not the other really makes it difficult to have a successful fit. On my side, making sure the lens is healthy for the patient, providing great oxygen permeability is really important, making sure that I'm fitting my patients with the best technology and lenses so that they have the health side, and also finding a lens that gives patients excellent vision and comfort. A trifecta of these three is a home run for patients. If they're comfortable, they can see well, and that the lens is healthy, it's going to be very, very easy for our patients to adapt to these lenses. So a poll of 75%, a poll of eye care practitioners was done, And 75% agreed that all multifocal one-day contact lens wearers should be wearing a silicone hydrogel lens. I will say I'm in that category. I think these lenses are great for my patients. Again, our presbyopic patients tend to be drier, and that's it's a gross estimation or oversimplification, but these patients tend to be drier and need a lens that's going to provide extra comfort for them. These patients likely, in most cases, have been wearing lenses for years and decades. So making sure that they're getting the healthiest lens so that they can continue wearing lenses is very important for me. So I would say any patient that I have that's in a multifocal is wearing a silicone hydrogel lens. This is a great time to talk about health. I don't think there's ever been a time in my career that health has been on the forefront for patients, and patients are really invested in their health like never before, which is one thing that's come out of the pandemic, which has been very positive. Patients are interested in the best hygiene. They want the cleanest option. So a daily disposable is a great conversation to have now. If you're not having a daily disposable conversation with your patients, I encourage you to really add that in. And those patients who might have been hesitating in the beginning or you've had a difficulty with, really talking about hygiene and health right now and single-use lenses is so important because patients are really tuned into what can I do to be healthy. So adding in the silicone hydrogel part, really having a breathable, comfortable lens that is very healthy. I don't spend a lot of time talking about DK over T or the material of a contact lens. When I approach a contact lens patient, I really talk to them about, I want to give you the lens that's the healthiest, the most comfortable, and that's going to provide you with the best vision at all distances. And this lens is it. And knowing that it's a silicone hydrogel gives me that third category over there. I know I'm providing them with the best health. I think I agree with this. Multifocal contact lenses have shown exponential growth, and this growth shows no signs of slowing. Our contact lens patients are getting older. These patients who have been wearing contact lenses for years and years and decades, they are looking for their next option. Some of them are fine to switch to glasses or to put reading glasses on, but primarily these patients have been contact lens wearers their entire life. They're not willing to put reading glasses on, and they don't want to switch to glasses. Most of them, their friends probably don't even know they wear glasses. They are contact lens wearers, and they identify strongly with being contact lens wearers. So there is a little bit of fear as they approach presbyopia that that's my identity. I'm a contact lens wearer. And how do we tackle that next step? I think this is going to continue to grow as the technology continues to improve, as our colleagues are fitting more contact lenses and more multifocals and seeing that it's not as challenging as it once was. It doesn't take the time that it used to. I think we'll see practitioners are more engaging with their patients to provide a higher level of care, higher level of service, and that patients are going to start coming in asking about multifocals because their friends are wearing them. They've seen it on TV. I've heard of this where 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people didn't really know it existed. So really giving patients these options can really be a great way to differentiate our practices, build a great practice, and increase profitability. I'll say I fit a patient of mine with multifocals a few years ago. I have a sports vision practice. I see patients primarily day-to-day at Norwalk Eye Care, but I also have a sports vision practice. And one of my patients' moms, or one of my athletes' moms, came to me as a patient, and I fit her with multifocal contacts. She lives about an hour and 15 minutes away, which if you're familiar with Connecticut and 95 and New York State, she probably passes 200 offices on the way from her house in Westchester to my office. But I fit her with multifocal contact lenses. She was happy, successful. She's the only one of her friends not pulling out reading glasses. She has so far sent me at least 6 to 7 friends who also spend a good hour and a half driving north on 95 in rush hour. If you've ever done that, it's painful. And they all came to me because their friends didn't pull out reading glasses at a dinner, and they wanted to know her secret. So this is a great way to build a practice. You get some really passionate patients who you've changed their life with multifocals. They will be your biggest champion, and they will be out there marketing for you. So it is a great way to build a practice. They're very profitable. These lenses can be extremely profitable, and it can really differentiate you because not everybody in your community is going to be fitting these lenses or even presenting them to their patients. We talked earlier about contact lens dropout, and we all know that these patients are there. We all see these patients who are either slow dropouts or, have come in and said, you know what, it's not for me. I've worn contacts, but I want to go back to glasses. And we've all heard that a contact lens wear in our practice is more profitable than glasses. I really like this slide because it gives us a little bit of a graphical representation of how much dropout patients do affect our bottom line, instead of this, kind of vague, we know that they're more profitable, but what's the dollar amount to that? So if you look on the bottom, this is a timeline of the average revenue of a patient in our practice over time. So on the left is the average revenue of this patient, and on the bottom is their years or their birthdays. So in glasses only, we can see over the lifetime of a patient, they're kind of around the $10,000 mark. So these patients are worth about $10,000 to our practice if they're a glasses only patient, which is still fantastic. Our contact lens patients over that same amount of time are about $28,000. So these patients are significantly more profitable for our practice. And they are spending significantly more. We know that they are coming more frequently to our exams. We know that contact lens wearers tend to be more compliant, and they are usually spending more money both on contact lenses and glasses. If these patients are dropping out, where that arrow is kind of our typical dropout period of when patients start to drop out of contact lens wear, we can see that dollar amount of that patient plateaus around, I'd say like close to 20,000, maybe 19,000. So we have a loss of about $10,000 on just that one patient over the lifetime of that patient in our practice. That's one patient dropping out of contact lenses. Multiply that by 100, and that's a significant change in our revenue. No change in the patients that we're seeing. So it's not that we're seeing less patients, but these patients are dropping out of contact lenses. So hopefully this when I saw this was kind of a wake up for me to say, wow, these patients are very profitable. What can I do to keep these patients in contact lenses? What good questions can I ask them? How can I engage them to make sure that they are happy in their lenses, that they're continuing to wear them frequently, and they're not becoming one of these dropout statistics? So this is a good one when you're walking in and it's the end of the day, you're tired, you've got your last contact lens patient in the chair, and you're dreading that, hoping they're happy, and they're unsure if they want to stick with contact lenses. I say take a mental snapshot of this, share it with your staff. Share it with your staff so that they understand how important these patients are to our practices and why it's important that we're fitting them with premium lenses, why it's important that patients are buying annual supplies from us in our practice. This is a great way to show the staff that this is the importance of these patients in our practice, and why I use scribes and technicians. So I've trained them to ask good questions before I enter the room so that they can really dig into why the patient's here. Are they having any issues with their contact lenses? So that I can walk in ready to address that with some new materials. So this is a great one, just as a kind of a memory of why these patients are so important to our practice. So why also should we be fitting multifocals, and what's important for us as eye care practitioners? What do we get from this? Professional satisfaction. I will say, when I can get a multifocal patient happy, especially on the first try, there is nothing that makes me feel better. There is nothing that makes me feel like, wow, I did my job today. I made somebody happy. These patients we know can be very challenging. So really to nail it on the first try, I give myself a pat on the back. I'm very excited about it. And even when I see a patient ordering an annual supply, if it's the second lens I've tried on them, it's very satisfying for me. And I tell patients when I approach fitting them with multifocals that I really like to do this. I really like to work with them to come up with the best option for them. I find it fun. I find it like a puzzle, and that the lenses are customized to them and their visual needs. And we'll work together to find the right prescription to get them happy most of the time. So when I can deliver on that promise, I find it really satisfying. And again, they become my happiest patients. I had a patient last week who was a really fun. She walked in, and I've seen her before. She's, your dreaded plus 50 with a +2 ad, and has been wearing reading glasses, and she's in her late 50s. And she shared with me that she would like to try multifocal contact lenses because she has a much younger boyfriend, about 25 or 30 years younger. So she did not want to pull out her reading glasses when they were out to dinner, because going back to the earlier slides, it didn't make her feel good. It made her feel old. And she really wanted a way to feel good about herself. So she was a new wearer. I fit her in the MyDay multifocal, and the first lens that we put on her after her about a week, she came in and she was thrilled. And that was just a satisfying moment for me. I felt really good that not only did I fit her with a lens and, kind of nailed it on the first try, but she's going out into the world, into her social situations, and feeling good about herself. Enhanced business opportunities. Again, these patients can be very profitable for our practices and can be really great as a referral source. But we know that we should be doing it, but we're not doing it. And in 2020, 200 ECPs reported that in their last 100 presbyopic patients, more than half of the time they were recommending glasses. So we know that multifocals are out there. We know about it. We know all the benefits, but yet more than half of the time we aren't recommending them. Only less than a third of the time are we even recommending multifocals. And I really love this quote from one of our colleagues here, that if you are not providing them with the products they want or they are aware of, like multifocal contacts, they will go somewhere else. And if I could drive one message home tonight, this is it. They are out there and they know that multifocals are available. They're talking about it. They're hearing about it. My patient didn't pull out her reading glasses at dinner, and her friends asked her why. These patients will go where they are finding these lenses. And if it's not you, they will leave your practice to find the practitioner that is doing this. They will talk about it at soccer. They will talk about it while they're playing tennis. They will talk about it at a PTA meeting or at a party. But patients talk about contact lenses. And if they're not hearing that you're up on the latest technology, they will definitely seek out those practitioners who are. And we need to be those practitioners that they're seeking out. There is no better feeling of having these patients seek me out because they've heard about these magic lenses that their friends are wearing that allow them not to wear reading glasses. So I really encourage you tomorrow when you head into the office that this sticks with you too, that we really want to be on the forefront of offering our patients the best technology and the best vision, and being the ones to offer it to them, and not being behind and having them hear about it elsewhere and wonder, I just saw Dr. Stewart for my exam last week, and she didn't mention it at all. She didn't really talk about reading glasses. So either, I don't know, maybe she just has never heard of it. I know her office looks pretty high tech and she's got all these really cool bells and whistles, but maybe she just doesn't know as much as my friend's eye doctor about the technology. So what was your eye doctor's name? I think next year I'm going to go give her a visit. So that's happening. And we really want to be the ones who are providing those patients with the differentiation of these great lenses. So what can we use to really wow these patients? And I am really excited to introduce this to you. The MyDay family is now here. We now have the full family of lenses, adding on to the great MyDay sphere, the amazing MyDay toric, which is fantastic. And now we have a multifocal. So this is truly the complete family of lenses that can take your patients from the young to the presbyopic, and they never have to change materials. I will say, if you're anything like me and you get a patient who's happy in the material they're wearing, the worst is when you don't have a lens and when their prescription changes, that they now have to be refit into a different lens and they love their previous lens. Now I know with MyDay, I don't have to worry about that. If a patient changes from a sphere to I need a toric lens, I've got that. And now I can easily move all of those patients who I fit into the sphere into the multifocal as well. So I will say I use myself as a case study. I've been wearing MyDay for years. I decided to fit myself first with the multifocal to see how that went so that I could both try the lens first, but also give my patients a firsthand experience with the lens. So I share that with all of my patients that I have been wearing the MyDay sphere for years, and now have started to notice that my eyes feel tired towards the end of the day or having trouble with some small print. So I was able to seamlessly change myself from the sphere to the multifocal with, I will truly say, no disruption in my distance or my reading. And I wear them comfortably at the office. I'm wearing them now. So I love being able to transition patients from one lens to another without having to refit them to a whole different material. So does the lens really work? And as we saw earlier, the lens can be the most comfortable lens in the world, which we know MyDay is super comfortable. It's super healthy. You know, we've got 2 of those 3 in those columns. So we know it's comfortable. We know that it's healthy, but can patients see out of it? So if they can't see out of the lens, again, they're not going to want to wear it. The distance binocular visual acuity is very, very similar in this lens to their spectacle prescription and their near vision. And that's usually where, with a multifocal, we feel we have to compromise. And I try to not use that word with patients. I hate the word compromise. I think for me, it gives them a negative connotation that there is something in the lens that I'm giving you that is already not going to work. So really having a lens that performs very well, both at distance and reading with very little compromise, is so important. And even I've had some great success with previous multifocal wearers who have tried and have either not been successful based on distance or reading blur or comfort. They've had some challenges. So every patient I see, I'm kind of looking through their chart to see if there's another opportunity for me to present them with a brand new technology that I think even has the best visual acuity at all distances and is very comfortable. So I'm finding I'm reactivating some of these contact lens dropout patients. So I'm taking them off of the middle curve and putting them back in that top curve, where I'm reactivating them as a contact lens, where I'm giving them back that freedom and they're able to now have better vision where maybe monovision didn't work or previous multifocals had too much blur at one of the other distances. A lot of them are excited to try something new. So I will say, when I present a contact lens, a multifocal contact lens to a patient, I will present it and say 75% of the time, I want you to think I'm a miracle worker. I want you want to hug me and think I am the best ever. And 25% of the time, I want you to think I did a pretty good job. I'll tell them that 75% of the time I expect that the lens is going to perform well for them, but they might notice driving at night, driving far distances, or reading teeny tiny print that it's not quite as clear as their previous lenses. Again, I don't use the word compromise, but I give them really strong guidance to what to expect. But the great thing about MyDay is that it actually even exceeded those expectations, and 90% of patients found that their vision was very stable throughout the day. 90% found that the computer or intermediate vision was great. 83% found that the reading was good, which is way more than my 75% that I usually aim for. 93% found that their distance vision was clear, and 82% found that it was easy to switch between different distances. So all of this meets by far my 75% expectation. I've thought about now bumping it up to 80%, but I like to leave myself a little margin of error and have patients really be excited when they see well, and that I kind of under promise and over deliver versus the other way. So really, these patients are very excited about how their vision is and the great clarity that they're having at all distances. You notice there's not one that says that they're 30% happy with their vision at any of the distances. This is pretty close to almost meeting the visual satisfaction of a spherical lens. So very impressive. I will say, when I put this on, I was a little nervous. I am the dreaded patient that all of us dread in glasses. I notice right away if there's a small change, if there's a base curve difference, if we've used a different lens material, if my panoscopic tilt is slightly different, I automatically notice. So everyone kind of waited with bated breath when I popped these in to see how my vision was. I noticed a difference even between daily disposables, how crisp I see. So when I put this in, kind of the office had a collected, oh boy, what's she gonna do? And I looked around and everyone kind of paused, and I kind of gave it a thumbs up and said, I can see, I'm happy. I don't have a headache. I'm not, I can see every distance. I don't feel blurry. I don't feel like my vision's changing. I have about a plus 75 ad, so I'm definitely on the lower side. But I was definitely one of these patients who found that my visual needs were met or exceeded. So if you can make me happy, you will make any patient happy, because I am that really difficult patient. 90% found that throughout the day that their comfort was great, that at the initial fitting, throughout the day and 2 weeks later, that lens felt just as comfortable as 9 out of 10 found that it was extremely comfortable. I will tell patients when they put the lens on that when they put it on, I have them put the lens on and then I ignore them. I show them their retinal photographs. I show them their OCTs, and we kind of go through a lot of other things. And I, on purpose, draw no attention to the multifocal, and I just observe them. I watch them looking around. I watch them, how well they can see my computer at intermediate distance. I look to see how they are looking. Do they look like, oh my gosh, what did she do? Or do they look pretty comfortable? I give it a few minutes, and then we talk about the contact lenses, and I say, how do you feel like you're seeing? We're in a brightly lit room. Look around, and most of them will not say they're seeing perfectly, but they'll say, okay, when I put it in, it felt a little off, but it's getting better. And I'll tell patients, this is the worst you're going to see. Right now, this is the absolute worst you're going to see, or 5 minutes ago when you first put them in. Every minute that you have this lens on, you will see better. In an hour, you'll see better. In a day, you'll see better. In a week, you'll see better. And in a month, you'll see better. So as you start to adjust, you're going to see better, and the lens is going to feel comfortable throughout that process. And the best patients are going to go, well, I see great now. So, okay, my job here is done. But really setting the expectation that they will continue to adapt, but the comfort of the lens, I'll address that right away and say, this lens is pretty comfortable, isn't it? Yeah, I don't feel it. I'm just adjusting to the vision. I say, that's okay. 72% of multifocal wearers, MyDay Multifocal, said they were so comfortable they forgot they were wearing them. So I'm kind of mixed on if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but we don't want them sleeping in them. But they, almost 3/4 of these patients did not fill these lenses and forgot they were wearing them. If a multifocal wearer can forget that they're wearing contact lenses, I call it a home run. So they're not fidgeting with them. They're not looking around. They're not looking at their watch or their phone and really looking for ways that they're not seeing well, or blinking and moving them around. If 3/4 of these patients even forgot they were on, that is fantastic. And these patients are feeling more confident. We go back to my patient who wanted to not feel old in front of her much younger boyfriend. People want to feel good about themselves. And I think more so now than ever, as patients are starting to get back to social situations, we're starting to go out to parties or concerts or go on vacation. We're starting to go back. I get to go to my son's school next week for the first time in almost 2 years. I get to walk through those doors. We're getting back to our normal routines. So we should give our patients the option of feeling really good about themselves and really making them feel good about how they look, feeling confident about what they're doing. Maybe they haven't been on a vacation in 2 years and they're going on a cruise or to a beach and they want to feel good. What better way to feel good than not having to pull out reading glasses? Maybe they're just starting to go out with friends to dinner and they're starting to feel good about getting out in the world. Well, not being the only one out of your friends, not having to pull out your reading glasses or use the phone. That is such a good feeling. So these patients will be very thankful. All of us are looking for ways to feel good right now. And if we can share that with our patients and give them another reason to feel good about themselves as we head into the holidays, and their daily activities, socializing, social events, going to the gym, making them feel more attractive and younger, who wouldn't want that? Patients are, again, very happy about the initial comfort, the overall vision, easy progression as reading increases. So these are very easy patients once they're in the lens to really progress them through the lens and have that lens adapt to their new visual needs. I always tell patients, once we get you happy in a kind of a starting point, it's very easy for me over time to just adapt that lens to your prescription change. The hard work is in the beginning, and then it's really just making small changes. These lenses perform very well. They're very easy to fit. They're very easily for handling. I fit a number of new wearers with this lens because I want to try it on everybody so I could give you my feedback. New wearers can be tricky because they've never touched a contact lens and they can't see a contact lens. So really having a lens that has good handling and good comfort for these new patients who are, kind of changing everything, who have never worn a contact lens and they're going into a multifocal. I really like the MyDay multifocal for the handling so that it's not flopping all around on their finger. They feel when they put it in, they're comfortable and that they can really see. So a great lens for handling. So how do we get started? So I've saved the best for last, and I've saved my all-time favorite part of the multifocals for the end. And that is, this is the easiest multifocal to fit so far. I have been a huge Clarity fan. I use the Clarity multifocal primarily and almost exclusively in my practice. I think the Clarity multifocal is fantastic, and I have found that lens to be very easy. And to answer a question up above about what's great about this lens versus Total One or another multifocal, I will say first and foremost is the ease of selecting the first lens, and it's very straightforward. There is no playing with adding minus, over plussing, kind of changing a lens, it is so simple to fit this lens, and it is very easy to get it right on the first try. So that is my answer to the nice question that we had about what makes this different from other multifocals is, for me, how easy it is for me to select a lens, first of all, and then how to make changes down the line. So CooperVision Binocular Progressive System is a great 3-ad multifocal system. So there's only 3 ads, low, medium, and high. And I think the magic comes in how you put those together and what the difference is. And I'll share that and how I share that with my patients to really let them know what's special about this lens. Okay. So there's 3 ads, like I mentioned. There's a low, medium, and high. So the low ad is for patients like me who are your lower, kind of, I'll call myself a newer or emerging presbyope, usually about +75 to +125 ad. The medium ad is for our kind of moderate presbyopes from 150 to 175. And the high ad is used for +2 to 250. So we'll talk about how do we do that with dominant and non-dominant eyes in a minute. But the low ad has an aspheric center near design with a distance power in the periphery. The medium ad also has that aspheric center near design with a distance in the periphery, but a larger intermediate zone. The high ad actually is a little different than the low and medium. It's not just an added reading. It is a spherical, not an aspheric, but it's a spherical center near design with dual or 2 intermediate zones and a really nice wide distance in the periphery. So this lens really gives good vision at all distances, but I think the real magic is how you do it. So for our early presbyopes, I walk into your office, I'm about to be 41, having some small challenges as I sit a little farther back from my screen, and noticing that I couldn't get my son had a splinter, and I really was having a challenge finding that splinter. I have reading glasses here, I will admit, but I don't want to put them on because I am a contact lens wearer and I don't want to feel old. So, doctor, what can you do for me? Well, the great thing is, Jen, we have this great multifocal for you. And for me, as a kind of lower prescription, about a +75 up to 125, we would fit me with a low ad in both eyes. So my dominant eye would have a low ad, and my non-dominant eye would have a low ad, and that's it. That's where we stop. For me, for a couple of years, I'm happy in this prescription. And I will say that this is a great lens also to tackle I call them my pre-presbyopes. They might be 37, 38, 39. They're starting to notice that things are a little more challenging, switching from, my phone to the screen, and I'm watching TV and looking at my phone. I'm not quite doing this. I'm not putting reading glasses on, but I notice something's different, and I notice that my eyes feel a little more tired. in the years ago, or even last year, I would have fit this patient with a clarity multifocal. A lot of them will call me back and say, Dr. Stewart, it didn't really do anything. I felt like it blurred me in the distance. I didn't notice the reading was any better. I'm just going to stay with what I had. And I said, great. We tried, and we know that a multifocal down the line will help you. Maybe it was a little too much reading for you, and we know that this is a great option down the line. I will say now what I do to those patients is I offer the MyDay multifocal, and I have a very different experience. These patients are noticing that their eyes feel less tired towards the end of the day. They're noticing that they can see the small print, but they're not having any distance blur. So they're really having the benefit of an earlier multifocal, having great results and feeling better, but not having any of that distance blur. So I encourage you to start thinking about that with your patients who we might have shied away from using a multifocal because they weren't bad enough, or they didn't have enough reading power. And we really were concerned about, I know I'm going to compromise their distance. Is it worth it? Do I want to have them come back? Maybe I'll just wait a few years. I encourage you start thinking about this lens a little bit differently and start really looking at your early presbyopes, especially your plus patients. They really love having a little more help for reading. So our advanced presbyopes, give me a couple of years and I'll be there. These are our 150 to 175 patients. Again, we keep their dominant eye in the low ad. That will never change. I'll give you a little preview, a little preview of what's to come, but that dominant eye in all three of these scenarios will not change. Every patient has a low ad in their dominant eye across the board. We never change that. The non-dominant eye here, we are adding a medium ad, which gives us a little more strength and widened reading zone. So a little more reading support for these patients, but that's in their non-dominant eye. In their dominant eye, we're keeping that really clear distance vision in the low ad with this wide distance channel. Our later stage presbyopes, again, these are our tough ones sometimes because the more reading we want to give them, now we start to blur them in a distance and they go, you know what? I'm just going to go back to my distance only contacts and wear reading glasses, or, my progressives are working just fine. I just don't think this is for me because I want to be able to drive. I want to see well, and I want to read, but you know what, Dr. Stewart, thank you for your patience. I just don't think it's for me. This lens is for them. So now we're adding in that non-dominant eye a spherical center near design, and we're giving them dual intermediate power zones for those who need the most help in their reading. But again, we're keeping that wide, clear distance vision in the low ad and the left eye. So really these patients become really easy to fit. They are not as hard as we think. There is no magic. You don't have to calculate. You don't have to add plus, or do I add plus? Do I take it away? Can I mix a low and a high? When do I put a medium? Do I do two mediums and one high? I don't know. It can be paralyzing sometimes. This lens is so easy because we stay with the low ad in their dominant eye, and it's either low, medium, or high based on their ad power in their non-dominant eye. 2/3 of these patients don't want to come back for us to fiddle and finagle and figure out what their lenses are, and they don't want to come back multiple times to get it right. So they really want a lens that's going to fit them well the first time and give them both comfort, clarity, and health at the first visit. Using the fitting guide is so important. I tell patients that I don't reinvent the wheel. I will gladly start where I'm supposed to start, and that it makes both of our jobs easy. That we want to really start where these companies have spent the money and the time to decide what's going to give us, our patients, the best first opportunity. So again, just like with all multifocals, make sure we're using their most up-to-date glasses prescription, vertex it correctly. You can use either the blur method with a +1 or the sighting method to determine their dominance, and then use their distance power and the AdPowers as in the fit guide. There's the fit guide, and that is it. It could not be more simple. Let the patient sit, real world, leave the bright lights on, make sure that they're checking their vision with both eyes open, and I give them their phone to read. Again, like I told you, I ignore them and just go about the rest of my exam, and I go through all of my recommendations, and then we talk about their contact lenses. If they're good, and I will say, I usually never change anything the first day. I tell patients, unless you cannot see at all, I'm sending you home with these, because I feel very confident in the first lens I'm giving them. And I want that confidence to show with the patient. I don't want to be changing them 3 times before they leave, because I feel like that doesn't instill confidence in me. So I tell the patient, I'm confident that this is the lens to start with. I want you to leave with it. I want you to try it. And then we will touch base with you. I don't typically have these patients back in the office. I have one of my contact lens technicians reach out to them in a week and see how they're doing. If they're a new wearer, I'll bring them back. But if they've worn contact lenses before, I reach out by phone, and I've already made notes to say, if they're having trouble with distance, this is the lens I want to use. If they're having trouble reading, here's the lens I want to use. My technician takes care of that. The patient comes back to pick up the diagnostics. We follow up again by phone. Usually at that point, we've nailed their prescription, place the order for, however many boxes that is, and we see them back in a year. So I don't want to see contact lens checks all day. I tell patients, I don't need you to come back if everything's working well. And I really like to instill that confidence in them that we are going to get it very quickly. I don't need to see you back, because I'm confident that within 1 to 2 sets of lenses that we are going to find the right lens. If we don't, here's how we fix it. If they're having some distance issues on the dominant eye, add plus or minus a quarter. If they're having reading, add plus or minus a quarter. In the non-dominant eye, do not touch the AdPower. Those AdPowers stay where they are. We're only changing the power of the contact lens, not the ad. So we don't start to mix and match 2 highs, 2 mediums, 1 low and 1 medium, where it was 2 lows. You leave the AdPower the same, just change the power. Make sure to keep both eyes open. Don't use the phoropter, use handheld lenses or the flipper. So again, really using maximum plus, don't over minus. Thinking about their lifestyle, what are they going to be using these lenses for? This is a great opportunity also to introduce multiple contact lens prescriptions, just like we do for glasses. I have a lot of patients who play competitive sports, tennis, paddle is very big here. So these patients I might fit with distance lenses for sports, but a multifocal for their day-to-day use. So this is a great time to bring that into a patient where these lenses might not work for you at every moment in time, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that it's not successful. It just means that just like you have different shoes for different activities, you have different pairs of glasses, you might need different contact lens prescriptions for that also. Most of them go, wow, I didn't know that that was possible. And I say, anything's possible. We can do whatever we want. So I do have a number of patients who wear multiple sets of contact lenses. I said, as long as you and I know what are going on and we keep it marked and keep it straight, we can do whatever we want. So this is a great opportunity to turn a possible negative where a patient might say, Dr. Stewart, the lenses work great for everything, but, and I can step in and say, that's fantastic. We're going to do a different prescription for that, versus saying, well, maybe they're not for you, or that's a negative, really turning into a positive and saying, I'm so glad that they're working almost all the time. How about we do a new prescription for tennis, and you have distance only for tennis, and you wear your multifocals the rest of the time. How does that sound? That's a win, and the patient doesn't have that negative connotation that the lenses aren't working. So again, don't change the AdPower, only change the power. Use the fitting guide. 83% of patients, and I will agree with this, were successfully fit with their first pair of lenses. After 2 pairs of lenses, 98% of patients were fit with 2 pairs or fewer. This, I hope, will change your mind and your perception about the time, the chair time, the difficulty, the drain on our staff, ourselves, our resources that these patients have. This lens has such a high fit success, and we can really fit a high proportion of our patients on the first or second try. Hopefully my pearls have helped you about how to present these options to patients, turn a negative into a positive, and really streamline our processes and our exams and our offices to make it more efficient to really offer these to our patients and be successful on their first or second try. Use OptiExpert. If you're not using OptiExpert, please, please, please download it right now. You can use it on a phone, on a tablet, on your desktop. I will say I don't use OptiExpert myself, because I have scribes in there with me, and they know based on what I start to say that I will want them to start filling this in so I can figure out which multifocal I want to fit my patient with. And they'll already have the MyDay lenses selected for me. They'll grab them. The patient doesn't see any of this. I look like the hero and I look like I was the one who figured this all out, when really CooperVision did this for me. So it's great for our toric lenses. If you don't know what lenses come in as a prescription, OptiExpert is just fantastic. It really, with clarity, multifocal, it really streamlines the process as well. But if you're a little nervous about starting with MyDay and aren't quite sure what to do and a little hesitant, start using OptiExpert, plug those prescriptions in, and really trust that the lens that is selected is the right one. A huge range, -12 to +8, larger range than any multifocal out there. So, not only is it providing great comfort, it's really allowing us to fit all of our patients with presbyopia. If you'd like to read this further, I'm sure that you can. Here's all the information about the AdPowers, DK over T, water content, UV blocking, and I think that is it. Did I finish? Let's see. I think I did. There's just too much to share. It's very hard to stop talking about this lens, but I really enjoyed being here. I'm so excited that the rest of the world now can start to have the experience that I've had with the MyDay multifocal, and I look forward to hearing all of your success at the IDOC Connection in February. Come up to me, tell me about your success. I want to hear about your fits. I hope that something I gave you tonight really helps drive your success. And thank you for being here with me tonight. Thank you, IDOC. Thank you, CooperVision. It's been my pleasure to be here. I welcome questions. I would love some, so feel free to ask them in the Q&A, and I'm happy to answer. So with that.
So Jen, hey, it's Evan Schwartz. I'm actually in Rochester. I'm meeting with Darcy and Born Collective tomorrow to work on the IDOT connection. So thank you so much for everybody that's on the line. I don't know if Jen is a lifesaver. She's so valuable to CooperVision. Dr. Artie Shaw actually went into labor 2 days ago. She was supposed to do, she's so selfish, I know, right? She went into labor. How could she when there's a MyDay multifocal training coming up? But everybody's doing well. Looking forward to providing an update. But Jen, thank you so much for following up and
I am a pinch hitter, so if you guys were expecting Dr. Shai, you got me instead. So
yeah, this lens has absolutely taken off. We look so forward. We are going to do another training session at the IDOT Connection in February. We are looking forward to providing trials in our booth where doctors and attendees will be able to be fit into the lens if they do want to try it as well. We placed well over 200 fit sets in IDOC accounts over the last 2 months. We are blowing through allocation. And again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to provide this great update on the eConnect series around the MyDay multifocal. So I'll turn it back over to the IDOC team and yourself, but I just personally wanted to say thank you as I sit here in Rochester. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. Did Dr. Stewart, there was a question in the chat.
About cylinder. So I would address, I think the question is, how do you fit these patients that might have astigmatism? I would fit them just as you would with any multifocal. If they have a lot of astigmatism, luckily we have the bioaffinity multifocal toric. So we have an option, maybe not in a daily disposable, for those patients who do have astigmatism. This might not be the lens for them, but the great thing is that we do have a lens for them. And again, I would encourage you to utilize OptiExpert, and this is where OptiExpert can be a lifesaver if you're not quite sure what power or what lens is most appropriate for a patient. I will use OptiExpert and put their prescription in and see what's available and what's probably going to be the best choice for those patients. So depending on the amount of astigmatism they have, I might use MyDay multifocal, I might use bioaffinity, depending on that level of prescription.
Thank you. If there's any other questions, I'm going to put Evan's contact information into the chat. So feel free to reach out to him. Additionally, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the connection registration within the chat as well. Thank you again so much, Dr. Stewart and CooperVision. We really appreciate your partnership, and thank you everyone for attending this evening. I'll stick around for just a few minutes in case there's any last minute questions and to give people a chance to click on that link, but otherwise I hope everyone has a fantastic evening.
I'll be on for another minute or two if there's last minute questions. So.
Corey, the only thing I'll say is if anybody's interested in fit sets, the November allocation is gone, but I am taking a list. I have my own allocation. So anybody on this call that wants a MyDay fit set, if they put their name, or if you follow up with me a name and account location, I'll pull the Cooper Vision account number and make sure in December that they get their fit set straight out of my allocation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is Nina Cox, Dr. Cox, I'm not sure, do you have a question? If we want to put it in, I see your hand raised, if you want to put it in the chat. Interested in a fit set. Got it. Thank you.
Just shoot me a follow-up email with anyone who knows something.
We'll do.
Yep.
We'll do. Perfect. Well, thank you again, everyone. I'll go ahead and end this webinar, but if anyone has any questions, just feel free to reach out. Thank you so much, everyone.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you.